It is the first day. Good morning to you. I'm Terri Stacy. The devastating tragedy that happened in Surfside, Florida several weeks ago with so many people killed in the Champlain Tower collapse. You know what? I started looking at all of the cracks in the walls of my home. I'm checking for cracks in parking garages downtown. It may sound silly. So joining us now is one of our WIBC friends from Michaelis Corporation. It's Bill Verhonik, and Bill is the project manager over the foundation and waterproofing division. Thank you, Bill, for joining us this morning. Bill, we learned from a 2018 engineering report that Champlain Towers in Florida had, among other problems, abundant cracking of concrete columns, walls, beams, etc. So when I take a look at my own home, is cracking in our walls of a 20-year-old, 30-year-old home, is that normal?
It is. Concrete, the one thing to say about concrete is, will it crack? And it's just a matter of when it will crack. However, there is a difference in when concrete starts to shift or it cracks through or it starts to settle. That's where it becomes, a structural issue. And the thing that has the biggest impact on concrete and foundations is moisture. And so you see hydrostatic pressure creates, problems with pushing in basement walls or cracking the poured walls or undermining a footing. So the water is washing away the soil underneath a concrete footing. And at that point, there's a void and caused by the water. And then therefore, it's no longer supported. And that's where movement starts to happen, and when movement happens, then it starts to crack and shift. And so that's cracking is normal, but then you have to look at the type of cracking. If it's very small, then okay, that's normal. But if it starts to crack through the block or it starts to shift or shear, then that's when you have something that's much more serious as far as concrete block walls or a poured foundation.
Where would a dangerous crack, maybe dangerous crack, be located on our property? Is it primarily the basement that you're looking at? Is it around fireplaces?
It could be anywhere, but primarily where most of the problems happen are near where a downspout is located. So a downspout that hasn't been extended away from the house far enough, and it creates a puddle of water. It creates erosion, which means that the water is just settling down at the, base of the house, and that's where it's going to affect the concrete the most. And again, I keep going back to the biggest problem that causes structural issues is water, hydrostatic pressure, too much water. It starts to erode the soil or create hydrostatic pressure, and that's what's going to start. That's going to start the problem in most cases.
Are we all kind of taking a look right now, or am I just abnormal taking a look at the cracks after this disaster in Florida?
Yes, we are. But we've had so much water. We've had so much rain and flooding, and so it starts to, the first sign of a potential foundation issue with the cracks is when you're starting to see water. And it's like if you've got a leak in your basement or even in your crawl space and you're looking at the block walls, that's where it's going to start to happen. That's where cracks are going to start to form because of the hydrostatic pressure in the water. And the other, and just good, so I mentioned downspouts, but good maintenance to the house, keeping your gutters clear, keeping, the gutter, the water off the roof, into the gutters, into the downspouts, and downspouts extended away. Your downspouts may be extended, but if your gutters are clogged, then all that water, again, is going to dump over, the outside of the gutter and just continually flood the outside of the house, and not only the nuisance of the water that people see, which we handle, that's where your potential structural issues are going to probably start. And it's a lack of maintenance. It's just a lack of water management around the house, good grading away from the house, build up. So if you put a hose up against your house, does that water run back to your house, or does it, flow out into the yard or into the landscaping where it's supposed to go? Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then you're going to probably have a good solid foundation. It's when the lack of maintenance and the excessive water is going to cause problems with concrete block and concrete footings.
And before we let you go, I just have one more question. It's about the fireplaces. I have 2 fireplaces, one in a walkout basement, one up on the main floor. But I've had cracks around that fireplace on the walls. Is that normal? Or, as some have said, maybe the house is just settling?
Well, anytime someone says the house is just settling, that's really not a good answer. That's not something you want to hear. A foundation, a brick or stone foundation, usually has its own footing and it has its own block structure, just like a little house. It's a separate foundation that holds the weight of that structure and creates the flue and the liner. And again, it's a matter of water seepage. It's a matter of getting the water away from that foundation. But you also have to pay attention to the top of a chimney, and that's very important. A lot of them will have a metal cap, but a lot of the brick and block stone foundation or fireplaces have a concrete cap on top, and the 2 flue liners that the smoke and the gas will come out of, it has a concrete that protects the water from getting inside. And if that water can get inside there, again, you're dealing with moisture. And that's the biggest culprit of, concrete and block foundations, even with a chimney. And so good maintenance of that, making sure your flue liners are covered with a chimney cap, making sure that concrete cap on top or the metal liner on top is secure and sealed, and moving that water off the top of the chimney. And then good grading around the house, around the chimney, is also important, so it keeps the water away.
It's amazing how powerful water is. It's amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. And anytime you see like little lime, like little fuzzy white substance coming out of brick or mortar or block or concrete, that's actually called effervescence, and what that is actually the lime, and that's water basically pushing the lime out of that hard concrete block, concrete surface or structure, and the lime is a hardening agent behind the aggregate and the water that's mixed together to create concrete or block, and that water will push that out, and basically what it's doing is deteriorating that concrete and block structure. So it is very powerful, and that's the number one thing I can tell the listeners is just good common sense maintenance in regards to water management around your house.
Yeah. Well, Bill, you're terrific. I really appreciate it giving us some of your time today. Bill Verhonik, project manager over the Foundation and Waterproofing Division at Michaelis Corporation, michaeliscorp.com. Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you. Anytime.
This is The First Day on 93 WIBC.